Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
Yeah, good evening. Government shutdown. All right. How's everybody doing? November the 12th, 2025. This is Spathon, quarterback in another episode of The Swamp. The House Democrats, they released 3 emails which they claim are in reference to Donald Trump having his way with a minor at Jeffrey Epstein's house, a classic deflection from the House vote, which happens to be tonight. Also, Hakeem Jeffries, he pulled a gaggle of reporters together to hold his soapbox rant over the Affordable Care Act tax credits not being included in the latest CR bill, which the House expects to vote on tonight. FBI Director Kash Patel returned from China and announced that the CCP has designated all 13 precursors required to manufacture fentanyl as illicit substances. And the U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announced the Scam Center Task Force, which will be pursuing over $9 billion worth of cryptocurrency funds that have been stolen from Americans annually. Thanks to the work by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the state of California now has no choice but to revoke 17,000 CDL licenses issued to illegal immigrants. Also, the Make America Healthy Again Summit happened today, and Vice President JD Vance spoke with Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy during the event. And the final U.S. penny was minted today, ending the era of the new 1-cent coin. However, pennies aren't going anywhere anytime soon, as 300 billion pennies are currently in circulation. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're going to dive right on in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like if you got a second, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And any article that you'll see in the video will be linked in the description below. So first off, I've got this. This is live right now in the House of Representatives. The vote is expected to come up tonight. Hair on fire psychopath Nancy Pelosi. She's obviously talking right now. I suppose I could just jump in here for a minute. We'll see what the hell she's saying. What's she blathering about?
Did anyone vote for that? No. So they all they have done is try to eliminate access to health care in our country.
Oh yeah, by the way, they're pissed off because the Senate Democrats failed to add the Affordable Care Act tax credits in the CR bill, which they had passed already. And it's off to the House, where they do not have health care tax credits included in the spending bill. So needless to say, Democrats are ass hurt over that. Oh my God, they pissed off.
Your wife has breast cancer. You've got big bills to pay because they want to take away.
Remember, it's the party of emotions and feelings.
Medicaid to tens of millions of people.
You gotta vote based on your feelings because that's just so logical.
Millions of dollars added to the cost for families for access to the Affordable Care Act. The list goes on and on. Either they don't know or they don't care.
Oh shit! I forgot to kill the intro music. I'm sorry.
Grandmother and mother.
Well, at least you finally got to hear the rest of it.
The United States on Halloween night having a Halloween
yeah,
party.
it's expired. Fuck off, Pelosi.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.
To the Supreme Court.
Fuck off. Bye.
Me feed the children.
Ooh, she's so emotional.
In our country.
She's so emotional.
To the Supreme Court for that. That means cruelty is not even
cut off her mic.
To the word that is needed for that kind of behavior.
Come on, Johnson. What are you doing, Mike Johnson? Cut it off.
Has ever seen. I yield back.
Yeah, fuck off. Should have cut her off.
The gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
So anyway, if the intro music, as my stupid ass forgot to shut it off, if you didn't hear what I was saying a minute ago, we're gonna watch just a minute of this. This is in the House right now, live.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
They are expected to vote on the CR bill, the CR spending bill tonight. We're not sure if it's going to pass. I think they're expected to pass it. However, we're not for certain right now.
Branch subcommittee, and I'm grateful to Chairman Valadeo for his leadership on that committee. It has been a long road to bring this bill to the floor, a road that was made significantly longer by totally unnecessary Schumer shutdown that we've been living in. The bill before us not only reopens the entire government, but ensures that the House and its supporting agencies remain working for the American people. The bill invests in safety and security. It increases funding for the Capitol Police, provides support for security programs through the House Sergeant at Arms, and is tough on foreign adversaries.
Yeah, some of this funding will extend all the way till September of next year, but a sizable portion of it, it's only going to fund until the end of January.
For his leadership, and Ranking Member Espaillat, and our subcommittee members and their staff, and our staff and their work.
All right, well, anyway, so that's happening right now. It's live. I will link this in the description to this feed, which I'm going to take a wild guess, and I'm assuming that most people who watch this video, it may already be over by this time, or by the time you watch it, but yeah, this video should be posted before 11, so I'm hoping, the reason why I'm keeping this small, I'm hoping that during this show, I'll be able to figure out if they're going to vote, when they're voting on it, how long is it going to take, you know, all that good stuff. So that's why I got the player minimized in the corner, and I mean, it's got my screen all jacked up. Everything's kind of shoved off to the left, but that's okay. I think it's important, man. It's important because they're voting on it tonight. I mean, they're convening. Didn't look like that the House is full, so I'm not sure why there's not a full House if they're planning on voting on it tonight, especially if they're going to do roll call, as I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene has a habit of doing, which rightfully so. I think anybody who votes on a bill in Congress, they have to be personally present. Can't send somebody in there on their behalf, or they can't vote remotely. No, you got to be actually there on the floor. That's what the people elected you to do. So anyway, all right, so this has been on the screen for a little while now. So, I mean, you've probably already read it for yourself by this point. So this is from Midas Touch. Epstein bombshell. Newly released emails show Jeffrey Epstein told Ghislaine Maxwell that Donald Trump spent hours at my house, knew about the girls, and that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. So, in other words, there's nothing in these emails whatsoever that says that Trump did anything inappropriate with any minors in any way, shape, or form. It's just a lot of hopes and dreams and wishes of the most nefarious evil acts that a human being can possibly perpetrate on a minor, none of which Trump is directly accused of doing in these emails. They dance around a lot of bullshit, but I find this awfully convenient that the House Democrats, they were the ones who released these emails to the public today. House Democrats did, which is awfully convenient, being that they are up to vote on the CR spending bill tonight. And Democrats are very pissed off, upset about the fact that this spending bill doesn't have health care in it. In other words, the Senate Democrats got a big fat 0 for keeping the government shut down for a record-breaking amount of time. So anyway, let's check out this first email. They redacted some information, like in this instance, they redacted the name of the victim. This is on the X platform. I really wish that you could actually zoom in, but the only thing it zooms in is obviously everything but the image. I wish they would really get that together as far as the X platform goes. Because anywhere else, all like, you know, internet browsers and everything, you can, you know, actually size up an image, but here, for some stupid reason, you can't. So anyway, so it goes on to say here, let me lean in a little bit because this is kind of small. So it's from an individual named Gmax, I believe. Yeah, Gmax1 at ELLMAX.com. That's who it's from. And sent back on April 2nd of 2011 at 7:09 p.m. And sent to jeevacation@gmail.com. And it says, I have been thinking about that. And before that, the original message, that was the reply to the original. I know I forgot with email change, you got to read from the bottom up to the top. Anyway, it says, I want you to realize that dog hasn't barked is Trump. I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. So that's what the entire message says. Anyway, underneath this, which I find this to be interesting, it looks like that whoever released these emails, it looked like they added Jeffrey Epstein's name down here because we're all aware of just that standard message that's typically printed at the bottom of security emails saying that if you accidentally get this email, destroy it, so on and so forth, which is basically the same message. Except it looks almost like because they put Jeffrey Epstein's name on just one line by itself. And I find that to be quite interesting. But it says the information contained in this communication is confidential, may be attorney-client privilege, may constitute inside information and is intended only for the use of the addressee. It is the property of Jeffrey Epstein. Unauthorized use, disclosure, or copying of this communication or any part thereof is strictly prohibited and may be unlawful, ... whatever. You get the idea. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So this one, email number 2, which, of course, the Democrats, they have to summarize everything to try to, steer the narrative in the direction precisely where they want you to go. Email number 2 is direct correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff. Ooh. So from Jay, I wonder who that could be. Maybe Jeffrey Epstein? I guess we don't definitively know 100% for sure. Do they have ironclad proof? Well, they probably do, to be fair. Which email belongs to Jeffrey Epstein. So, I'll give that to them. They probably actually know that. So anyway, to Michael Wolff. So victim, and then next to victim's name, it says Mar-a-Lago. And then they black all that out. And then after the blackout, redacted information, it says, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. And that's it. That's it. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Sounds to me like he asked Ghislaine to stop doing what they're doing because what they're doing to underage children is evil, vile, and wrong. Oh, and by the way, the FBI, they've come to talk to me and I'm going to be an informant for them. So you better stop what you're doing. And that's my interpretation of it. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. To stop what? Probably stop R-wording children. That's probably what Trump actually was doing in this email with regard to this message. That's my takeaway. All right, so the third one, email number 3, is direct correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff once again. So, and it reads, this one is from Michael Wolff to Jeffrey Epstein. And it reads as follows. I think you should let him hang himself. Oh, this, by the way, is on December 16th of 2015. So it was just about 10 years ago at this point. I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win. Win what? I wonder, perhaps the presidency? You could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Really? This sounds, like blackmail maybe? It sounds like some sort of coercion of some way, shape, or form. Is Michael Wolff going to be investigated to that effect? I'm not so sure, but look, this is the quote-unquote Epstein bombshell, according to Midas Touch. And if you look at any left-leaning or full-on left-wing progressive X accounts that are out there, they're all using that language like epic bombshell, biggest story of the year. The Democrats dropped a nuclear bomb on the Trump regime. And this is all I got. This is it. There's absolutely nothing whatsoever. There's nothing. There's no absolute definitive proof that Trump was there. All it is just one man telling another man that Trump was at a place at a certain time. And they didn't even give the certain place or time at all. He just said, well, Trump was over at my house for several hours. Okay, he could have been over there having coffee. They could have went over there and just hung out, watched Terminator 2, maybe play a little putt-putt out in the backyard. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, so Democrats, of course, they want you to use your imagination. They want to paint the narrative exactly the way that they want to paint it, just to frame it in such a way that looks so damning to Trump. Because if they had anything substantial, if these emails actually were to lead to anything substantial, they would have, first off, released it now. But even more importantly, or more obviously, they would have released it at the very latest during his 2024 campaign, or they would have released all that information during his 2020 campaign, or they would have released all that information during his 2016 campaign. Which it's one of the biggest arguments that conservatives have when it comes to pushback with regard to Trump involved with Jeffrey Epstein in any nefarious way whatsoever. Why wouldn't they ever just release the information a decade ago, and then we would have never had a Trump presidency problem that Democrats would have to be dealing with, according to them. All right, so anyway, that was the bombshell that happened today, quote unquote. So I've got this from Hakeem Jeffries. Here, let me size this up. Looks like they're still debating. Oh, this dude's vocally pissed off. Should we jump in and see what they're saying? Maybe he's yelling at somebody specifically.
About resisting and fighting and undermining Donald Trump. But here's the deal. They're not fighting and resisting Donald Trump. They're undermining the will of the American people that gave Trump the presidency.
Yield the gentleman an additional 15 seconds.
The gentleman's recognized. The popular majority, in fact.
They undermine the will of the people who overwhelmingly elected President Trump.
Okay, yeah, we get it. We understand. We get it. He won the popular majority. So I've not seen this yet. This is from Hakeem Jeffries from his official government account. And as I mentioned during the opening, he dragged a bunch of reporters together, collected them all somewhere in the house, just like he did last week. He did a couple of these last week. And I figured I would just give this a watch. It's a bit long. Not sure if I'll get to the whole thing, but it is Wednesday. If it's entertaining and if I'm not getting very far with it, then I guess I'll save it for the weekend, especially if they don't end up, if the CR bill doesn't pass by the weekend, which I think they're anticipating on it passing tonight, but there's a decent chance, if not a good chance, that it won't pass. So we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, at the very least, I'll watch some of this and we'll get started. Let's see, it's 25 minutes in total length. That's if he starts right away. Yeah, see, that's... Oh, he's outside. Oh, he's with all his buddies. All of his Democrat buddies here. So this ought to be interesting. Okay. All right, here we go.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'll full screen it. I thought about not doing so. But...
honor and a distinct privilege.
All right, let's turn this up.
To be joined today by Whip Catherine Clark, Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar, members of House Democratic Leadership, and the House Democratic Caucus.
Dude, you meet with these people every day. Y'all are House leaders.
Are here on the Capitol steps
for the Democrats
to reiterate our strong opposition to this spending bill because it fails to address the Republican health care crisis and it fails to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
It does. Democrats failed in the Senate.
House Democrats will continue to support.
But it failed. They knew that they were going to get absolutely eviscerated during Thanksgiving when all the Americans are talking amongst each other and their families.
We will continue to support our law
What do you mean
enforcement
Democrats
personnel.
are really responsible?
House Democrats will continue to support our air traffic controllers. We will continue to support our TSA agents. We will continue to support our civil servants who have been under attack.
Look, if it's the Trump
of the Trump administration.
Look, hold on. If it's the Trump Republican shutdown. Oh wait, shit. Why is it not pausing?
The Republican effort to gut the health care of the American people.
Oh shit, what the hell? What's going on? This is really bizarre. Oh shit, hold on.
Today, House Democrats will introduce...
That's weird. The pause button quit working. What the fuck's going on here? This is very strange. I'm just going to refresh it. What the hell, man? What the hell's going on here, man? This whole show's falling apart. It's just an absolute disaster. I don't even know where the hell I was. Where were we? I was way up here at the top. What the hell am I doing? All right. So let's try to get this going. Okay, yeah, see, it's pausing now. Why the fuck wouldn't it pause? That was weird. So anyway, so they keep calling it the Trump Republican shutdown, which we all know they're full of shit with regard to that. But if it was a shutdown exclusively from Trump and the Republicans, then why are they pissed off that Senate Democrats were unable to get certain aspects of the bill passed? And why was it that Republicans had to wait for Democrats to vote up to a 60 vote majority in order for the bill to pass? It's because Senate Democrats were required to reopen the government. I know anybody who's listening to this probably already knows this. I mean, this has been repeatedly happening for 42 days, 19 hours, 28 minutes, and 54 seconds. But who's counting? I just find that interesting. They keep saying that it's Trump's shutdown, it's the Republican shutdown, even though 100% Senate Democrats were required to vote to get the government open, or at least to get the bill back from the House or from the Senate back into the House again.
Deductibles. We believe.
Okay, yeah, it's working now. It's weird, man.
Middle-class Americans and everyday Americans deserve the same level of certainty that Republicans always provide to the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. The same level of certainty. And so we're calling upon
Democrats aren't the party of the wealthy.
To join us and extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And we will be working hard today, tomorrow, and throughout the balance of this year to make sure that those Affordable Care Act tax credits are extended.
Well, look, the main question that I think everybody wants to know is, are all the Democrats going to vote no to pass this current spending bill? Are they all going to vote no? Because that's going to be all over the news media. Or are they all going to overwhelmingly vote yes to pass it? That way they can posture and virtue signal to their base and say, yeah, we got the government reopened because it was the Trump shutdown and we did the good thing by reopening it. I think they're all going to vote against it, probably because they did the same thing before it went to the Senate in the first place. Almost all the Democrats voted against it. And then they start screaming about it being it's Trump's and a Republican spending bill, or it's their fault that it shut down. But even though they were all the ones who voted against passing the funding bill, which is absolutely hilarious. I mean, this is like some of the lowest IQ form of gaslighting that the Democrats have ever conjured. It's hilarious.
Control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They own the mess that has been created in the United States of America.
See what I mean?
They own it.
That stinking gaslighting. Smelly.
In a few hours, we will convene on the House floor.
And all the Democrats are going to vote against
And
it.
our message to the American people is no matter what happens on the floor later on today, our promise to you remains the same. House Democrats will continue to fight to make your life more affordable. House Democrats will continue the fight to address the Republican health care crisis, and House Democrats will fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. This fight is not over.
Squandering more of your tax money, giving it
started.
directly to insurance companies. That's precisely what he's saying. He's going to take your tax money and give them straight to the insurance companies, whose stock prices soared over 1,000% in just a 4-year period after Obamacare was passed.
The Trump Republican shutdown, or done during the Trump Republican shutdown, the longest shutdown.
Which, by the way, with these premiums,
in American history.
with the tax credits, it's increasing regardless. There's nothing they're doing to slow down the increase in cost for Obamacare. It's been increasing since day one.
He has two positions. Donald Trump says that he's both the president and the Speaker of the House.
He didn't
That's
say
what
that.
Donald Trump said.
He didn't say that. I didn't see him say that. Did you hear him say that? Drop it in the comments if that's true. I don't think that's true.
Compliant, sycophantic Republicans
I think he's inhaling too much of his gaslight floating out of his ass.
Is they continue to go along to get along. They don't function like a separate and co-equal branch of government. From the very beginning of this presidency and all the way through this Trump.
It's so ironic. It says save healthcare on there, but it was Obamacare that absolutely ruined healthcare. And everybody knows it. That's the hilarious thing. Like, did they really think that people don't know that?
That may be.
We're all well aware that Obamacare has been skyrocketing for like the last 15 years.
But damn sure it ain't the House Democratic position. Because we know. And what we say to the American
This is what happens when Democrats take control
Trump.
of an industry and they attempt to regulate it by the government or using the government as their vehicle.
We work for the American
It becomes
people.
a disaster,
And that's what
as
this
always.
fight by House Democrats.
I mean, look, I challenge anybody to take one thing, like one major cause, one major regulation, anything that the Democrats have done probably in the last 50 years, maybe in the entirety of the Democrats' existence, that has truly benefited the American people in any meaningful, long-lasting way. Even a short-term benefit. Well, I guess maybe you could say that during the COVID era, like under Biden, they were passing all kinds of bullshit that gave people short-term relief financially. Although it's at the cost of squandering countless billions or trillions of dollars from our grandchildren in the process,
Our colleagues on the other side of the Capitol
and jacking
has
up
been
inflation.
All about. We work for the American people. As we stand on the Capitol steps, ready to continue this battle on the House.
Okay, if you're working for the American people, then you're going to vote to pass the spending bill because that would reopen the government. That's exactly what they're saying that they're going to do, correct? Because I don't think that's exactly what they're going to do.
A battle that we waged week after week after week, and that will continue regardless of the outcome. We say to the American people that we know you deserve better. You deserve much better.
Yeah, we deserve way better than Obamacare. You're absolutely right.
That you've seen.
Fucking disaster.
And so as House Democrats, we're going to continue this fight.
Yeah, we're going to continue passing a bunch of bullshit that jacks up inflation, the national deficit,
where America is far
takes more of your taxpayer money away from you.
Far too many people struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, can't thrive, and can barely survive.
I mean, I would ask them, like, why the hell do you want to put $500 million into public broadcasting? Why do you want to do that? Do you want to do that because you just want to keep propagandizing everybody who watches it It doesn't make a lot of sense that the federal government is dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into news media corporations or media entities, because isn't the media supposed to be like the bridge between the people and the government, trying to like they're always there to fact check the government and always keep them in line and report back to the people fairly? And how can you do that when you're collecting a paycheck from the government? That never made sense to me.
States of America, the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
But Democrats are all over that. Republicans don't want to do that. Democrats want to do that. It's almost as if they want to use it as a propaganda arm.
And we'll continue to work hard to lower the high cost of living. We'll continue the fight.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I also learned something interesting today. The BBC over in the UK, one of their largest single donors over recent years has been USAID.
To fix
Find that
our
to be
broken
interesting.
Healthcare system. And we'll continue to fight to stand up for Medicaid. We'll continue to fight to stand up for Medicare. We'll continue the fight to stand up for the Affordable
And how are they
Care
going to
Act
do that?
and an extension of the tax credit.
Stealing tax
We'll
dollars.
continue to fight
They're
for
going to
your
take tax money
hospitals. We'll
from our
continue
children,
to fight
our
for your
grandchildren.
nursing homes. We'll continue to fight for your community-based health clinics, and we'll continue to fight for the principle that in this great country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, healthcare can't
$38 trillion in debt worth of wealth. Oh, it's so wealthy.
The wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Healthcare must be a right available to every single American.
Healthcare can't be a right. Rights can't cost money, dumb fuck.
Democrats will continue to wage for the American people. It's now my great honor to yield to a freshman leadership representative, someone who's gotten off to a great start, helping to lead the freshman.
All right, spectacular. That's the perfect time for me to be done with this. I will link this if you want to watch the rest of it. I was only interested in hearing Hakeem Jeffries. I didn't expect him to be outside on the steps of the Capitol. I thought he'd be in one of those press rooms like he was last week, just droning on and on about, just endless, bullshit about bullshit. So anyway, all right. So I'm just going to move on to the next thing. Anyway, from Rep. Pramila Jayapal, Senate Democrats should not have caved. Aw, why? What do you mean? Like, they shouldn't have caved? Are you saying that they were the ones that were holding the government shut down? Sounds like it. Americans understand that this was a Republican shutdown and that we were fighting to protect healthcare for millions of working families. It was a righteous fight that we could have won, and it will continue. So she wants to keep money out of Americans' hands who get food benefits, who get WIC benefits, and all those other things, because she didn't want them to vote to reopen the government, but they did.
Have now been shut down for about 6 weeks. And the Republicans shut us down. Number one fact. The Republicans shut us down. Republicans have control of the House, the Senate,
if we say it enough times, that just makes it true.
That they were going to shut down the government because they did not want to provide Americans with health care. All of the polling showed that...
anybody with any morsel of common sense, if you take that statement and you're like, okay, so our elected representatives, they just simply want to just take away healthcare forever, period. Like, nobody's allowed to have healthcare ever again. Anybody with any amount of common sense would be like, wait, why? That doesn't make any sense. Like, to permanently strip away all healthcare from everybody.
The American people understood that this was Republicans' crisis shutdown. It was a crisis that Republicans
if she says it enough times, it just magically becomes true.
They blame Republicans,
you just have to believe.
They believe Republicans should negotiate with Democrats to get Democratic votes. That's what governing is. I am really proud of House Democrats.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They did. They actually did. Because on Monday, they got 8 Democrat senators to vote to reopen the government. So that actually did happen.
Stood up and fought back and refused to cave and have been the wind behind the sails to make sure that the Senate held out as long as they did. But
to make the American people suffer.
Yesterday, this was a righteous...
No, see, they wanted the American people to suffer because the popular majority voted for Donald Trump. That's probably another reason why they wanted to keep the government shut down. Somebody like her wanted to keep the government shut down as long as possible to make the American people feel the pain that this is what you get when you vote a radical Cheeto in the White House, the Trump regime.
For the health care of the American people. And it was a righteous fight that we could have won given the shift in momentum given the incredible popularity of what we were.
Yeah, see, this is absolute ironclad proof that she does not pay attention to any of her socials at all. Like, not in any way, shape, or form. She's got people that are typing up all her tweets for her. If she's got a Facebook profile, Blue Sky, maybe she pays attention to Blue Sky, but she sure as shit ain't paying attention over on the X platform, because she's been getting ruthlessly ratioed day after day after day. Same with Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all these Democrats. Anytime they mention the government shutdown and they throw the word Republican in there, they just got ruthlessly ratioed. 3-1, 5-1, 10-1. Chuck Schumer got a few 10-1 ratios, just absolutely insane ratio numbers. And it just goes to show that you're on the wrong side of this. The American people, they absolutely understand what's going on. And what's hilarious is that I'm talking about official Democrat accounts, the ones that you would think the vast majority of people following these accounts would be Democrats. So it would seem to make sense to me that they would have gotten a lot more likes than comments on all of these posts about the Republican shutdown. Nope, they weren't, because they are on the wrong side of this.
Right?
And the American people know it.
75% of Americans across this country, 80% depending on which polls you look at, support the fight to extend the tax credits for the Affordable Care Act and to cancel the cuts. That's a righteous fight. We were on the right side of history for that. And the reality is that Tuesday just gave us more momentum.
I will tell you, another poll, before Obamacare was passed, 70% of Americans were happy with their health insurance. I would love to see the number of people who are happy with their health insurance today.
Yes. So the Senate Democrats should have held the line.
Yeah, whatever. All right. So did she get ratioed? Oh, of course she did. Look at this. 223 likes, almost 1,000 comments. That is a brutal ratio. So let me go ahead and see if Grok might have the answer. And I'll show the sources, because I know some people say Grok is like extremely biased to the right and it's unfair and blah, blah, blah. So anyway. And I'll get back to that. It always takes like a minute or so, even though it's Grok 4 fast. It's not really all that fast sometimes. Sometimes it takes a minute. All right, so update over here. Nothing really. They're still giving their speeches one by one. I'm not sure how much time they have. If I were to take a guess, I'd say probably 3 minutes. They might have 3 minutes, give or take. Okay, so moving to Senate Republicans. Obamacare and the Biden COVID bonuses failed to keep the cost of insurance down and are riddled with waste, fraud, and abuse. Republicans want to bring down the cost of care for Americans, not continue to hand tax dollars directly to insurance companies. It's interesting. President Trump made that obvious when I think it was a True Social post that he put out, saying that when the government passes these tax credits for Obamacare, the money doesn't go through the American people. It's handed directly to the insurance companies. And up to 40% of people who are on Obamacare, they don't file a claim a single time throughout a year or any given year. And that means that that 40% of money that goes to the insurance companies is pure profit. All right, so do you know the truth about Biden's COVID bonuses? Cost taxpayers $350 billion if they were to extend it. It was never meant to be permanent, encourage fraud, go to high-income families, don't actually lower costs, but shifts that cost to the taxpayer. Again, there's no sources here. I always want to point that out. If they don't show a source, there's no source here. So I can't take that as 100% or actual evidence, truth. The data, the statistics. We don't really have anything to back that up, but you can take it for what it is. I'm sure if those numbers aren't exact, they're probably not far from the truth. All right, so Caroline. Oh wait, hold on. Let me go back here to Grok real quick. All right, so really? Look at this. All right, so 88% of Americans report being satisfied with their health insurance coverage, according to a recent national poll conducted by Propeller Insights for eHealth in November of 2025. This includes 48% who are very satisfied and 40% who are somewhat satisfied. Satisfaction varies by plan type, with employer-sponsored plans at 92% and Medicare at 91%, while ACA marketplace plans are lower at around 30%. Oh, shit. So as far as the Affordable Care Act goes, as far as Obamacare goes, people who are on Obamacare, only 30% are happy with their health care with regard to Obamacare. So I don't remember what number, or she said something about 70% with regard to what, like satisfaction? I mean, not according to this. However, broader concerns persist as nearly half, 49%, rate the overall U.S. health insurance system a C or worse, and 73% have delayed care due to costs. Look at that, man, 73%, which doesn't really seem to make sense to me. I mean, look, if 91% of people are happy with their employer plans, or 92% are happy with their employer health insurance, but yet 73% of people are delaying their health ailments due to high costs. I mean, that doesn't really jive with me, but I mean, I'm not going to absolutely dispute it. But I do find that interesting, at least, that 88% overall are satisfied with it, because insurance, dude, like people who are satisfied with their insurance today and they don't remember what healthcare was like 15 years ago, it was spectacular compared to where it is right now. It is so much better. We didn't have like deductibles like we have now. Like you have to pay 40% out of pocket until you reach like a $6,000 amount or an $8,000 or $10,000 amount. Like that, at least from what I've seen, it appears that like the majority of health insurance out there is like that. You have to pay like a 4-figure deductible in order to get, the full scope of healthcare services that you require. But back then you didn't need that. If you got laid up in the hospital as an inpatient for 2 weeks or 2 months or however long, it was just $250 for, I don't know if that was for most plans, but that was, any plan that I was involved with when I was, like a young adult back in the 2000s. All right, so this is only one web page that it referenced, which is finance.yahoo.com. So, at least it ain't Fox News. All right, so I'm just going to head back to the next thing from Caroline Leavitt, who was the White House press secretary. And, oh, look at this. Hold on a second. Hold on. We got Hakeem Jeffries on the floor. Let's hear what
the American people. That's our commitment as House Democrats. And there's only 2 ways that this fight will end.
What if this means that they're wrapping up?
That this fight will end. Either Republicans finally decide to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits this year, or the American people will throw Republicans out of their jobs next year and end the speakership of Donald J. Trump once and for all. That's how this fight ends.
We're not voting on that tonight, you
Speaker,
idiot.
They're
laughing about how retarded he is.
Shutdown.
Like, what the fuck is he talking about?
What we've seen
He's even got Democrats laughing at him.
Philosophies in terms of how to govern for the American people. The Democratic Party philosophy is clear. We
hopes and feelings.
Are ready, willing, and able to find bipartisan common ground. Anytime,
through the my way or the highway
to
philosophy.
Enact spending agreements that actually make life better for the American people. But in order to do that, we need to have partners on the other side of the aisle who are actually willing.
Yeah, who's a big enough sucker to just dump money into a failing system that needs subsidized in order to survive.
Republicans from the very beginning of this presidency is a my way or the highway approach.
Well.
That's been
I stand correct.
Philosophy.
Told you they went by the my way or the highway approach.
Extremism down the throats of the American people. That's what we've seen from day one of this presidency. That's the reason why the government has been shut down by Republicans and Donald Trump for the longest period of time in American history.
The
what
Democrats shut down.
Donald Trump and Republicans
broke Trump's
during
record.
This shutdown? A consistent unwillingness to actually find common ground in order to make life better for the American people. Donald Trump, during this shutdown, found the time to play golf week after week after week.
Yeah, because Biden never fell asleep on a beach anywhere during his presidency.
Serial fraudsters like George Santos and Rudolph Giuliani. Donald Trump found the time to meet with the Chinese Communist Party. Donald Trump found the time to destroy the East Wing of the White House. Donald Trump found the time to extort $230 million from the Department of Justice so he could line his pockets. Donald Trump found the time to bail out Argentina with $40 billion. Donald Trump found the time to rip away SNAP benefits from 42 million Americans. Mr. Speaker, these extremists are not like us. They're not like us.
Yeah, because the Democrats shut down the government, so it's all Trump's fault, of course.
To make life
it's
better
always Trump's fault.
For the American people. Their philosophy, my way or the highway, our response, get lost. We're going to continue to fight hard on behalf of the American people.
He can't even say this shit with a straight face. That's what's hilarious about Hakeem Jeffries.
In the midst of a
He's got the
healthcare
worst poker
crisis
face.
and a cost of living crisis that is very real. Despite what Donald Trump,
It is, thanks to Biden,
has to say. He claims there is no affordability crisis in the United States of America. But why would anyone believe anything that Donald Trump or Republicans have to say on this issue? Because
why should anybody believe you, dude? You come with no facts, data, statistics at all. We need this and we need more of that. Without any solutions.
On the campaign trail,
except tax money.
That's
That's always their solution, Democrats.
Go down on day one.
Just raise taxes. Just dump it into a bunch of bullshit.
Republicans haven't done a damn thing to lower the high cost of living. Costs haven't gone down in this country. Costs have gone up. Inflation is on the way up. Housing costs
Wrong again.
Out of control. Grocery costs out of control. Electricity bills
nope.
out of
Groceries
control.
are
Healthcare costs
stale or stagnant or in
out of
slight
control.
decline.
And in the midst of this,
remember, DoorDash just came
crisis,
out. They said that a 14% decrease in breakfast items since March of this year.
We've got to fight to make sure that we extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits so that tens of millions of people, working class folks, middle class
this is what
folks,
a party looks like who is in
rural
chaos.
America, working class America,
They have nothing but just
small town America,
absolute
the
gaslighting,
heartland of
lies,
America,
lies.
Black and brown communities all throughout
Oh, yeah, the
America
identity politics. You don't want to forget that one.
experience premium increases that in some cases will go up by $1,000 or $2,000 per year.
Obamacare.
In many cases, month after month after month, $1,000 or $2,000 per month, tens of thousands of dollars per year. Unacceptable in this country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
You think they regret putting Obama's name on the Affordable
And this
Care
is
Act?
in the
I
midst
bet they
of a
do.
Republican health care crisis. Republicans enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, ripped health insurance away from 14 million Americans.
Wrong again.
As a result of Republican policies,
They were fraudulently
hospitals,
receiving it, and
nursing
I
homes,
highly doubt
and
it's anywhere close to
community-based health
14
centers
million.
are closing all across America, including in rural parts of this great country of ours. And now, because of Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are at risk of being unable to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. In this country, the wealthiest
People haven't been able to afford to see a doctor since forever, dude.
It can't be the case that health care
Certainly since Obamacare became a thing.
simply a privilege for the wealthy.
But at least you got to keep your doctor.
Mr. Speaker, that's the Republican perspective. We believe as Democrats that health care has to be a right, and a right that's affordable
Rights
and
can't cost
available
money.
to every single American in the United States.
See, I told you Democrats were the party of slavery.
That's what this fight is all about. And that's what the fight will continue to be about as we move forward. Many of my Republican colleagues have suggested that they want to deal with the health care affordability issue, that they want to address the Republican health care crisis that's devastating people all across this country.
How do you
But we have
expect
an
them to come
opportunity
across
for
the
you to
aisle
do
when you
so.
keep calling them extremists
There's a discharge
and Nazis
petition connected
and
to legislation
supremacists?
that House Democrats
It doesn't
have
really seem to
introduced
bode that well.
to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years, because we believe that working class Americans, middle class
Why
Americans,
3 years?
and
What's going to
everyday
happen in 3
Americans
years?
deserve the same
Well,
level
we'll just
of
extend it
certainty
again,
that
and again, and
Republicans
again, and
always
again.
provide to the wealthy, the well-off, and their well-connected donors. Working class Americans deserve that level of certainty. So join us.
Man, they got so much energy with all that
in
clapping.
extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. It's not too late. We're in the midst of open enrollment, but the tax credits expire on December 31st.
It's a failure.
And we
They
will
better not
stay
pass
on
those
this
tax
issue
credits.
until we get
Remember,
this issue
those tax
resolved
credits only exist because of
for everyday
COVID.
Americans.
But Democrats want to keep it
Speaker, as
artificially
I
cheaper
close,
so they can use it on their
I've
campaign
had the
trail next
opportunity,
year.
as many of us
We
do,
lowered health care
to serve in the United States
because they know
Congress with
Republicans have
legendary
plenty of ammunition against Democrats with
figures,
regard to
too
health care.
numerous
Because this whole nightmare,
mention.
it's 100% Obamacare. Every single bit of
legendary
it.
members, of course, Speaker
Not a single
Emeritus
Republican voted for the tax
Nancy
credits, for
Pelosi,
Obamacare, for
Steny
none of it.
Hoyer, the great Jim Clyburn, Maxine Waters, Elijah
Yeah,
Cummings,
she's so
Charlie
high IQ.
Rangel, our own Marcy Kaptur, the longest serving woman in the history of the United States House of Representatives.
Yeah, so what? What does that have to
had
do with
the
anything?
Opportunity to serve with legendary members, John Dingell, too numerous to mention. But one can't call that roll.
All right, whatever, dude. He's fucking filibustering. Oh, yeah, here. So I'll keep it going. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to drop it back to mute. We're not getting anything out of it. It's just him just spouting a bunch of bullshit. Okay, so got to move on to Caroline Leavitt. President Trump looks forward to ending the devastating Democratic government shutdown with his signature, hopefully later tonight. Not so sure. We'll just have to wait and see. But we can never forget the damage inflicted onto our country and the American people by the Democrats in their shutdown fight to give illegals taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits and to appease their radical left-wing base. Notice how they never mention that whenever that's pushed on the Democrats with regard to illegals getting government-funded healthcare. They constantly deflect because it seems to happen to probably be true. Anyway, hundreds of thousands of federal employees missed paychecks. Tens of billions in wages and benefits were withheld as a result, impacting vulnerable families and their ability to pay their bills. Millions of low-income Americans missed their SNAP benefits, and many were forced to turn to food pantries to feed themselves and their loved ones. Nearly 20,000 flights at airports across the country were delayed due to staffing shortages, causing Americans to miss family events, vacations, and work obligations. According to airlines.org, an estimated 5.2 million travelers have had flights disrupted over the course of the Democrat government shutdown, and airport travel will likely not return to normal operations for days after the CRS passed. Our economy has lost billions and billions in economic activity over the course of this shutdown, hurting consumer sentiment and crushing the travel and hospitality industries. According to a CBO estimate, the Democrat shutdown could end up decreasing fourth quarter economic growth by up to 2 percentage points. Of course, they're going to put all that on Trump because they already are. The Democrats' government shutdown also made it extraordinarily difficult for economists, investors, and policymakers at the Federal Reserve to receive critical government data. And the Democrats may have permanently damaged the federal statistical system, with October CPI and jobs report likely never being released, and all other future economic data releases being permanently impaired, leaving our policymakers and the Federal Reserve flying blind at a critical period. Let's see what you have
In
to
other
say.
news,
In
the
addition
Democrats
to that,
dragged on the government shutdown for 43 days, the longest shutdown in U.S. history. But tonight, thanks to Republicans, the White House is very hopeful
if they don't get rid of the
this
filibuster,
shutdown
we're just
is
going to get more
come
shutdowns.
to an end. The damage caused by the Democrats with this reckless government shutdown cannot be forgotten. It is entirely the fault of the Democrat Party. Just look at the vote count. Hundreds of
almost a
thousands
million
of
people
federal
miss
employees
paychecks.
have
I
missed
don't
their
think people are going to
paychecks.
forget that.
Tens of billions in wages and benefits were withheld, impacting vulnerable families. Millions of low-income Americans missed their SNAP benefits. Nearly 20,000 flights at airports across the country were delayed due to staffing shortages, causing Americans to miss family events, vacations, and work obligations. According to Airlines for America, an estimated 5.2 million travelers have had their flights disrupted over the course of the Democrat shutdown. And our economy has lost billions and billions of dollars in economic activity over the course of this shutdown, hurting consumer sentiment and crushing the travel and hospitality industries. According to a CBO estimate, the Democrat shutdown could end up decreasing fourth quarter economic growth by 2 whole percentage points.
Well, that's the Democrats for you. They find any way they can to make everything worse as they could possibly make everything, and then they offer just empty solutions on how we can just make it all better.
The shutdown made it extraordinarily difficult for economists, investors, and policymakers at the Federal Reserve to receive critical government data. The Democrats may have permanently damaged the federal statistical system, with October CPI and jobs reports likely never being released. And all of that economic data released will be permanently impaired, leaving our policymakers at the Fed flying blind at a critical period. It's hard to recap all of this without asking a simple question: why? Why have the Democrats put the American people through this pain?
I don't know. They got nothing out of it.
43 days in a row.
It's a good question.
It feels like
they got nothing out of
Day
that.
being up here again talking about this Democrat shutdown. And the answer to that question is pure partisan politics.
That's
they
it, baby.
started this shutdown with a ridiculous demand to force taxpayer-funded health care benefits to illegal aliens who broke into our country. Even after it was clear President
As well
Trump
as
and
giving
Republicans
people
would never force
benefits
American
fraudulently.
taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegals. In fact, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill fixed that problem. The Democrats kept dragging this reckless government shutdown on for weeks longer to boost their turnout in an election, perhaps one may guess. That's because the Democrats are totally captured by their far left-wing base, who only care about attacking President Trump, even if it means
burn the system
hurting
down.
innocent
That's all they care
Americans
about.
in our country. The Democrats' weakness and their unwillingness to buck the fringe members of their party dragged this harmful shutdown on for 7 weeks and inflicted
they want a revolution,
massive pain
a communist
onto
revolution.
The American public.
That's what they're hoping for.
But let's be clear. The clean CR being voted on today in the House of Representatives that will lead to the reopening of the federal government is what President Trump and Republicans have supported from day one. Our troops, air traffic controllers, and federal employees will be back to receiving their regular paychecks. Families in need will get back to receiving their food purchasing assistance, and the people's government will soon be back open for business. President Trump looks forward to finally ending this devastating Democrat shutdown with his signature, and we hope that signing will take place later tonight.
All right. Yep. So the Democrat Party, they just want to burn it all down. They want to start anew. They want to mimic the Chinese Communist Party, where they just own and operate and just have full power over everything. Speaker Mike Johnson, for 40 days, hardworking Americans have endured flight cancellations, missed paychecks, and empty dinner tables, all because Democrats closed the government. It was foolish, pointless, cruel, and entirely avoidable. Republicans have been working every day to get the government reopened for the American people, and today we should finally be able to overcome the Democrats and accomplish our mission. I mean, again, I would just have to say it pretty much over and over at this point. What did Senate Democrats get out of it? They got absolutely nothing. And it was just, they were playing chicken. That's really what they were doing. They were expecting Republicans to cave, as they have done often in the past, and Thanksgiving was coming up, and they knew the nightmare that was awaiting the Democrat Party if they kept it shut down during Thanksgiving weekend. All right, let's hear what he has to say.
I just want to come out and say that we believe the long national nightmare will be over tonight. It was completely and utterly foolish and pointless in the end, as we said all along. I just want to apologize to any Americans who are out there who still have flight cancellations or delays today.
Dude, don't apologize, man.
Many American families who were made to go hungry over the last several weeks, our troops and other federal employees who are wondering where their next paycheck would come from. All of that's on the Democrats. Just never forget, they voted 15 times between the House and the Senate to close your government. And the Republicans tried every single day of the shutdown to open it, and we voted 15 times to do that. They have a lot to answer for, and I just want to say that we're very optimistic about the vote tally tonight. We think this is going to happen, and we're sorry that it took this long. So Republicans are going to deliver for the people. We're ready to get back to our legislative agenda.
Leave that up to the Democrats.
We have a very aggressive calendar for the remainder of this year. There'll be some long days and nights here, some long working weeks, but we will get this thing back on track. So thank you all. Stay tuned for more tonight.
All right. So we're going to move on to House Republicans. Watch Rep. Fishback. So Rep. Michelle Fishback, proudly representing Minnesota's 7th District in the House. The bipartisan CR passed on September 19th would have paid federal employees, air traffic controllers, and our men and women in uniform. All right, hold on. Looks like we got some action here. Let's take a look and see what's going on. All right, so they're tallying it. Republicans, yay. Democrats, nay. Tied 77. Independent, total 77-77. 279. So we got 13 minutes remaining. A motion to concur in the Senate amendment. Okay, well, I will keep an eye on it. Okay, so the numbers are still going up. 86, 87 with the nays. It'd be quite interesting if this doesn't pass. But it needs a simple majority. 82 to 89 so far. All right, I'll come back to that in a few minutes. So, all right, so instead, the Democrats have spent the last 7 weeks playing games in this nonsense, in this shutdown.
So the September 19th bill would have paid the troops.
I'll just keep it small.
The September 19th bill would have kept the government open. The September 19th bill would have kept the funding for veterans. And so we had that, and they chose to shut the government down.
Yep, they did. 15 times. 15 times. 88 to 96, the nays have it so far. It doesn't look like any Republicans voted no so far. So, and not a single Democrat has voted yes yet. So it just goes to show how much Democrats truly care about people receiving SNAP benefits, how much Democrats care about the military getting their paychecks, air traffic controllers getting their paychecks, and everybody else. Because not a single one. So far, 98 Democrats have voted to keep SNAP benefits withheld, to keep the paychecks withheld, to keep the government closed. Because that's literally what they're voting on. Yes, to pass the spending bill, or no, to not pass the spending bill. Democrats so far have voted 100 no. All right, GOP, nothing about service members and workers going without pay and American families going hungry is valiant. Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats are proud of the damage they have caused, and it's sick. Hakeem Jeffries dodges when asked if Chuck Schumer should be replaced. That's interesting. It's on
What do you
CNN.
think, Leader Jeffries? Do you agree with Ro Khanna? Do you think Schumer should be replaced?
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And, of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear. And what we've seen from Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks has been part of a valiant fight that we have waged together.
What do you think?
And which you've got absolutely nothing out of. Nothing whatsoever. Okay, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The shutdown was never about health care for Democrats. It was about stopping President Trump's agenda at any cost. And they were willing to waste tens of billions of taxpayer dollars to do it. Meanwhile, the economy is thriving with 3.8% growth, and we're on track to accelerate even further into 2026. Although I don't know how accurate those numbers are because they hadn't been reporting financials, as my understanding goes, just based on what Caroline Leavitt just mentioned just a brief moment ago. So anyway, so let's give this a listen.
Well, Brian,
Fox News.
it's the Democrats tried to stop President Trump. They couldn't stop him in the courts. They couldn't stop him with the mainstream media. So they shut down the government. And they've taken the mask off. Ezra Klein in the New York Times yesterday actually said this was never about health care. This was about President Trump and his totalitarianism. So they were willing to cost the government tens of billions of dollars. The economy was in a great place, 3.8% growth last quarter, tracking very well this time. I think we're going to accelerate into 2026, but they've caused a hiccup here. Well, Brian,
all right. So I'm just obviously trying to size this up a little bit just to make it a little more legible on screen. Let me just see. There we go. All right, does that fit? Yeah, that fits. All right, here we go. So 106 to, or 105, 104, 95. So yeah, those are the non-votes that are reducing because they're casting their votes in. 116 yes, 121 no. But Republicans, they outnumber Democrats in the House, of course. So, I mean, if they vote split, absolutely split along party lines, then it will pass. All right, John Kennedy. Senator Schumer dug up more snakes than he could kill by shutting down the government. His demands weren't even within the realm of possibility.
Why? Why did we shut down the government?
Why indeed? Because Democrats. Stop Trump!
I want to be careful, Will. I don't want to do anything to upset our agreement. If I did that, my colleagues would, I don't know, they'd have Katie Porter slap me to Pluto, and I couldn't blame them. Look, Senator Schumer chose to have this shut down. And it's clear.
One of the Democrats voted yes.
It's clear now. He just dug up more snakes than he could kill. His demands were unreasonable. They were so unreasonable that they weren't even within the realm of possibility on my side of the aisle. And we were prepared to just sit there as much as it hurt. I mean, we didn't have a choice. We couldn't possibly do what Senator Schumer wanted us to do. But look, I want to.
Hell no.
I want to thank
$1.5 trillion
who finally said, look, enough of this foolishness. We're going to open government up.
Yeah, he probably did bring this up. The fact that Senator Kennedy mentioned just a couple of weeks ago, he predicted that if or when the Senate Democrats decide to vote to finally pass the CR bill, that Chuck Schumer's name will not be on it because he has to appear to show himself from a position of strength that he was fighting tooth and nail, and that's why I'm not voting on it. But he was like, yeah, but he's going to get him behind closed doors. And he's like, look, we got to vote to reopen the government, but my name can't be on it because I have to look like the strong party leader who just fought tooth and nail every step of the way. So I noticed that number just changed. It changed to 2, and then it dropped back to 1. Democratic votes in the yay, and it dropped back to 1. So I don't know if that was just a temporary typo or what. All right, Congressman Brandon Gill. So we got about 7 minutes remaining on the vote. Democrats are apoplectic that Republicans are reopening the government. Their shutdown was never about policy. It was a desperate Hail Mary to save Chuck Schumer's career and appease his far-left base. Not sure if they really got anything out of that, though.
And what you see in the House right now is Democrats utterly apoplectic that we are reopening the government, that we're getting air traffic controllers paid, that we're getting TSA agents paid, that we're getting the government working back for the American people as it should be. And you see Democrats up in arms. Why? They knew the entire time that they were shutting the government down, that what they were doing was utterly nihilistic, that they were throwing a Hail Mary pass to save Chuck Schumer's political future so that they could push unrealistic policy goals that were never going to materialize. They're trying to give health care to illegal aliens, launder our tax dollars to left-wing social media.
Well, they're still going to try to do that.
Pay for global LGBTQ awareness campaigns. None of those things make life easier or better for the American people. And I think what the American people can see now is you can see that Republicans are working to make life better and Democrats are creating chaos.
They absolutely are. Trying to dump our tax money into a bunch of shit that doesn't benefit Americans in any way. GOP, Americans missed paychecks, lost food assistance, had their flights canceled, but Democrats think their shutdown was worth it. And they're replying to RNC Research. Disgusting. Democrat Senators John Hickenlooper and Jack Reed say the shutdown that put our most vulnerable at risk and deprived Americans of their paychecks and benefits for weeks was worth it. It looks like the 2 Democrats voted yes on passing the bill.
Shutdown worth it? Yeah, I think so. I hate it. But yeah, it was worth it, definitely. We got people to pay attention to the fact that this is a traumatic, in many cases, life or death situation for people all over this country. Was the shutdown worth it?
I think it was, because I think the perception, we made it clear that this, not just the healthcare issue, but the whole issue.
All right. Well, I played that on yesterday's episode, but obviously it came back up again today. All right, moving on to House Republicans Chairman Tom Cole, Oklahoma, District 4, setting the record straight. Democrats knew the damage a shutdown would cause and still voted to keep the government closed, using American families as leverage. Disgusting. House Rules Committee. Before this started, Tom Cole, Oklahoma, District 4, warned Democrats shutting down the government would be a mistake. Fighting over a clean, nonpartisan CR would cause undue hardship and fail to achieve anything at all.
And again,
but isn't
show me the poison pills in there. All we're saying is keep the government open. There's not a problem you've mentioned that's going to get solved if you shut down the government. If you think that's the solution, you're making the same mistake Republicans made in 2013 when they said, we're going to link something that doesn't have to do with day-to-day government, Obamacare, because we don't like it, and you will give in because we shut down the government. Didn't work then, probably won't work now. But whatever it is, I mean, the desire to, this is a clean, let's just keep talking for 7 weeks on 3 bills that we're awfully close on, and send them to a package. And that, we hope, will start a pattern of doing it that way. So no, I don't accept the assertion that it's a partisan, it's a clean continuing resolution.
Well, they're certainly doing that these days. They're just packaging all these bills together and just compiling them into these big super bills and just passing all kinds of reckless nonsense that nobody really benefits from except probably the rich, the wealthy, the Democrat donors. House Republicans watch Rep. Fishback drop the mic. If you voted yes on September 19th, you voted to fund the government. Did we already see this? I don't know. I don't know if we already saw this or not. Almost every single Democrat voted no again and again and again and again, so on and so forth. Shameful. Okay, so maybe not. I believe it was in the same conversation or in the same setting as the last video that she was in.
There's a vote on September 19th. If you voted yes, you voted yes to keep government open. You voted yes to pay people. You voted yes to keep things moving along. You voted yes to continue the appropriations. If you voted no, which the Democrats, with the exception of one, voted no, that shut down government.
All right.
Vote on September 19th.
Okay. All right. Heading on to the next one. House Republicans reminder Catherine Clark promised to use the pain of Americans as leverage for her own political agenda. Now she claims she doesn't need a lecture about it. Sound off. Do you agree?
And I just want to say that it's a little hard to be lectured to about the pain that is being inflicted on the American people.
All right, you heard it from her. Secretary Sean Duffy, this is a program loaded with dangerous foreign drivers and frauds. So we're moving past the shutdown at this point. Keeping a close eye on this. There's only 2 minutes remaining. Glad to see Nevada join us to make our roads safe again. This is from U.S. Department of Transportation Rapid Response. Nevada announces phase out of non-domiciled CDL program. This is over on overdriveonline.com. Let me size this up a bit, make it easier to read. You happen to be watching this on a smartphone, you want to follow along. Nevada announces a phase out of non-domiciled CDL program. Trucking News and Briefs for Friday on November 7th. This was updated November 10th. Nearly 1,000 non-domiciled CDL holders in Nevada will be impacted by the ending of the state's program. 2025 Road Warrior receives custom Kenworth. Veteran support campaigns planned for Veterans Day. Vote for the top rookie military veteran truck driver. Nevada fully phasing out its non-domiciled CDL program. The Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles this week announced a plan to phase out the issuance and renewal of non-domiciled, which the state officially calls limited-term CDLs and commercial learners permits, to comply with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's September emergency final rule that sought to remove nearly 200,000 non-domiciled CDL drivers from commercial vehicle driving. And it'll go on from there. I won't get into the weeds with it. I mean, it's not, strictly speaking, all about the swamp. But anyway, it'll be linked if you want to check that out, especially if you're from Nevada. If it affects you directly, it'll be there for you. And Libs of TikTok, brutal takedown. Sean Duffy just demolished pothole Pete Buttigieg, who spent $80 billion on DEI instead of focusing on the FAA and fixing air traffic control systems. But first, let me see if there's any sound, because this is about to end. So we'll take a look here. Nope. I've actually had sound on the entire time. But I'll let it roll out. So 3 Democrats, a third one just popped up. One of the Republicans voted no. So it looks like it's going to pass, 205 to 201. And there you go. It looks like, okay, 15. It's like 15 Republicans didn't vote for some strange reason. Democrats, number changed again. Okay, the numbers are still changing. I mean, are they still accepting votes even though the time ran out? 208 to 202. 209 to 202. Okay, yeah, they're still letting them roll in. Yeah, it's definitely appears that it's going to pass. 8 to 10. Let's see, 17 remaining. All right, 211 to 205. I do kind of hear sound, though. It does look like there's a little bit. Maybe a little bit of sounds coming through. I don't want to click away from it just yet, just to see if they're obviously going to make an announcement on it. Motion hereby passed. Drop the gavel. It's heading out to the Oval Office to get Trump's signature. Get the government reopened ASAP. So I can finally get rid of that government shutdown timer that's been on the top right of my screen for the last practically month and a half at this point. Yeah, they're still coming in. 13, no votes. Four Democrats defected and went over to the yes column. 213 to 207. I theoretically still could end up, not passing with 13 remaining, even though the time's over. Oh wow, yes. Okay, so even another Democrat voted yes. So there's 12. Yep, went up another one. 215 to 207. So they need 8 over on the other side, 216 to 207. So they need all but 2 on the no votes to go into the nay column. Actually, all but 1, really, to stop the bill from passing. Something that's very highly doubtful at this point. I wonder which Democrats voted yes. All right, here we go. 217 to 207. It's passed. 100% passed. Yeah, even if all the remaining votes went into the nays, it's not going to be enough. All right, so there you have it. I'll keep the sound on, so it'll interrupt if they end up coming back with anything. Which I'm sure they're going to. I'm just not sure when. I don't know how long this typically drags out for after the time drops to 0. All right. So let's get back to this. So let's play this from Secretary Sean Duffy.
Let's go over Pothole Pete's record, right? So there were 85 near misses, Sean, in the Potomac before the DCA air crash. Pete did nothing. He spent $80 billion on DEI and on climate change. He lowered the standards for training at the FAA. He focused on pronouns at the FAA, changing those things, but never worked to fix the air traffic control system. Didn't work on bringing more air traffic controllers into the system. And so what he's trying to do is rewrite his record because he wants to run for president. But the truth is,
that's
he barely
hilarious.
showed up at the DOT. He was in Michigan and other places, but he was no-show Pete. And now he wants to rewrite it so he can run for president. And he's going after me and President Trump. We're not going to take it.
I mean, yeah, I believe that was pretty common knowledge that he was really ineffective as the DOT secretary. That I mean, the expertise that he had. Like, to be fair, I don't know Sean Duffy's background exactly, but I know Pete Buttigieg. He was the mayor of South Bend, so not really the best track record to run the entire Department of Transportation across the entire country over being a mayor in a medium-sized city. Or even a small city, really. All right, Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Under President Trump's leadership, stopping the flow of fentanyl from China will save tens of thousands of American lives. Thank you, FBI Director Kash Patel, for being a key part in the Justice Department's crucial work to protect the American people from this poison. This is from C-SPAN. FBI Director Kash Patel on trip to China and
on
fentanyl.
This vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209.
Yay!
The bill is passed.
All right, government reopened. Yeah!
The motion is adopted.
It's passed, heading to Trump. No auto pen.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Bang! Here we go. Get this bitch reopened. Get back to business. All right. Bye, shutdown. That's over. It's about damn time, man. It took fucking forever, man. Absolutely ridiculous Democrats shutting down our government. How dare you? All right, so that's a wrap. If you want to watch it for yourself, if I interrupted too much, if you don't like my interruptions, then I will put that in the description also, this video, if you want to go back and watch it for yourself. All right, and we'll just get back to it. Actually, here, let me scooch this over, man. I got some extra room now. And try to center this back off. Here we go. Yeah, it's about centered. Ain't perfect, but... All right, so, quote, President Trump has shut off the pipeline that creates fentanyl that kills tens of thousands of Americans. These substances are now banned. Good. They've been banned all along.
We have some tremendous news thanks to President Donald J. Trump once again for the American people. As soon as the President of the United States took office, he issued a mandate to rid America of the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Thanks to his leadership and direct engagements with China, we set up a framework to execute that mission 8 months ago. Attorney General Bondi immediately thereafter took steps to engage her counterpart in China at the Ministry of Public Security. Pursuant to their direct discussions, as the FBI director designated to run counterpoint on this, along with the Secretary of State Rubio and Ambassador Perdue and the team here at the White House, we set forward a path to implement the policy needed to crush the plague of fentanyl. Deputy Attorney General Blanche and our teams have been hard at work ever since, ultimately culminating in my trip to Beijing last week.
Whoops, I dropped something.
This was only possible due to President Trump's historic engagement with President Xi just a few short weeks ago that set the stage for today's announcement. At that meeting, the leaders reached an agreement. But just to put this in frame for the American people, a reminder here that nearly 100,000 people died of fentanyl overdoses just last year alone. Here, this year, under this president, the FBI has seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl so far. That is a 31% increase from the same time period last year. To put it in perspective, that's enough fentanyl to kill 127 million Americans.
That's a lot.
Fentanyl precursors are what makes up fentanyl. While we, the interagency, the Department of Justice, have been fighting hard to seize and stop drug traffickers, we must attack fentanyl precursors, the ingredients necessary to make this.
Well, the main problem that could arise out of that is the precursors. If they change the molecular or the molecules in just the slightest kind of way, then they would be able to change the name of those precursors, and therefore they wouldn't be on the banned list. I know that was a problem with synthetic drugs for years at this point. They were doing that with synthetic THC. They would change the molecular makeup in a very, very slight way that would allow whoever who's creating these substances to be able to change the scientific name of it, because now it's not the exact same substance, which is therefore allowed to skirt the state or federal laws that are implemented to stop those substances. I mean, there's probably most states at this point, especially the states that have banned synthetic THC, they've got this long laundry list of all of these compounds that's on the list of banned substances, because these fancy scientists who know what the hell they're doing, they will change the structure in a very slight way, not to really affect it as far as its ability to get you high. But they are able to change it just enough to be able to change the name of it entirely. So I'm not sure if China is going to try to play those shady games. Wouldn't surprise me if they did, but hopefully they actually play ball this time, because, I mean, how many times have we gone back and forth with China to try to get all these precursors banned? It seems like it's been over a dozen times at this point.
Drug. That was the sole purpose of my trip to China, to eliminate these precursors. And if successful, we would suffocate the drug trafficking organization's ability to manufacture fentanyl in places like Mexico. This was the first time an FBI director has been to China in over a decade and received the audience with his counterpart to address this matter directly. And again, thanks to President Trump's direct engagement with President Xi, the government of China committed fully to my engagement there on the ground in Beijing at a level never seen before. While at Ministry of Public Security headquarters, I met with my counterpart at MPS, where the Chinese government agreed on a plan to stop fentanyl precursors. What does that mean? The People's Republic of China has fully designated and listed all 13 precursors utilized to make fentanyl. Furthermore, they have agreed to control 7 chemical subsidiaries that are also utilized to produce this lethal drug. Effective immediately, essentially, President Trump has shut off the pipeline that creates fentanyl that kills tens of thousands of Americans. These substances are now banned, and they will no longer be utilized by the Mexican drug trafficking organizations or any other DTOs around the world to make this drug.
I hope they're aware of that. I hope they're going to offer help for some of these people.
This historic achievement would not have been possible without the tremendous team of President Trump, the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and Ambassador Perdue in China, whose ground-level engagements were imperative to achieving this result. This is yet another example of how President Trump defends the American people, provides security for the American people, and puts the American people first. This is a historic first-in-its-kind achievement by any president to stop the scourge of fentanyl, and it should be championed by every single American. This achievement will save lives. We are thankful for President Trump's steadfast leadership, and this FBI will fearlessly follow in his footsteps to ensure that this mission of safeguarding the American public is achieved every single day. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, man, that's going to save a lot of lives, especially being able to take out fentanyl. Will it still find its way into the country? Probably. I mean, drugs always find a way in. Although the amount of supply of fentanyl that comes in, that's going to be a good thing. Absolutely. I just hope that they've got something in place, or at least they're working on something with regard to however many people that are going to end up withdrawing if the supply shortens to the point where, you know, people aren't going to be able to find it anywhere, which would be a good thing. They'll be able to get cleaned up. That's just all I'm hoping. Hopefully that they do, you know, because you got to feel for a lot of the people that have been hooked on it. I mean, maybe a lot of people don't, but I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot for people who were addicted and they got to get clean, because it ain't so easy, especially something like fentanyl or opiates in general. It's like probably the hardest substance to get off of, just because the withdrawals they're physical in nature and they're extremely intense. Okay, so I got another one, rapid response 47. This one, it's 2 minutes. It's probably in the same, it could be an extension of what he's already gone over. So at the least, I'll read this. Director Kash with a major update on combating the fentanyl crisis. The People's Republic of China has fully designated and listed all 13 precursors used to make fentanyl. Effective immediately, essentially, President has shut off the pipeline that creates fentanyl. Okay, yeah, so we've already seen that. Yeah, so that came from C-SPAN, so the rapid response 47 just essentially took the same statement. All right, Jeanine Pirro. In 2024 alone, Americans were scammed out of more than $9 billion in cryptocurrency. Today, my office announced the Scam Center Scam Center Strike Force, a dedicated team that will relentlessly pursue the fraudsters, many backed by Chinese organized crime, to crack down on and dismantle these criminal schemes. Man, dude, like, anybody who said that China is not our number one adversary, I mean, dude, you kind of recheck your shit. This first-of-its-kind initiative brings together interagency and private partnerships. Thank you to our partners at the Justice Department, FBI, Secret Service, State Department, and the U.S. Treasury.
The Department of Justice will not stand by while Chinese organized crime victimizes Americans and bleeds dry the hard-earned investments of American citizens. The Scam Center Strike Force brings together a cadre of resources across agency. Our best and brightest are being brought together to attack this problem by securing our United States infrastructure, by returning money to victims, and by bringing these perpetrators to justice.
Yeah, that'd be great if they can return the money. I just don't know how they're going to be able to recover the crypto, because a lot of crypto is almost impossible to recover, especially if it's stashed away on a wallet somewhere. All right, Commander Op-at-Large, California Gregory, I can never remember his name. Gregory Bovino. That's it, Gregory K. Bovino. Crime way down in Chicago thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem's leadership. This is Homeland Security in action. This comes from Homeland Security. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem, Operation Midway Blitz has made Chicago safe again. And from Donald J. Trump, I am proud to announce that Chicago, Illinois, despite all of the radical opposition and obstruction we have from the mayor and the governor, has seen car theft, shootings, robberies, violent crime, and everything else drop dramatically since the launch of the DHS Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago only weeks ago. Shootings are down 35%, robberies are down 41%, and carjackings are down almost 50%. And this is with just a small initial federal force, not with the full surge we have done in Chicago and in Memphis. I think that's a typo. I think you meant to say Washington, D.C. there. As we ramp up more assets, these numbers will continue to drop. This has been achieved despite the extraordinary resistance from Chicago and Illinois radical Democrat leadership and the constant violent left-wing terrorism against ICE officers and federal agents that insurrectionist Democrat officials refuse to stop or prosecute, including constant physical assault and attempted assassination. See, what I like about Trump is that he could play their game. You know, he could throw all those buzzwords right back at Democrats. The radical Democrat leadership, the violent left-wing terrorism, the insurrectionist Democrat officials. You know, he knows how to play their game, man. You gotta give that to him at least. All right, DEA HQ, 6,056 total arrests. Every arrest saves a life. Every partnership makes our city stronger. DEA and our law enforcement partners are united to keep violent offenders off the streets and restore safety to our nation's capital. Man, there are over 6,000 arrests now in D.C. since the task force started, the D.C. crime crackdown, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in the beginning of August when they officially started it. Already up to 6,000, almost 600 illegal guns have been seized. And speaking of the task force, from the U.S. Marshal Service, Memphis Safe Task Force update. As of November 12th, 2,506 total arrests, 412 firearms seized, 111 missing children have been located, and 293 gang members have been arrested in Memphis, Tennessee. It's still ongoing. They still got the operation going out there. U.S. DOT Rapid Response. California unlawfully issued 17,000 licenses to migrant truck drivers, according to the feds. And this is reported from the Daily Caller. And it says, California illegally doled out thousands of commercial licenses to dangerous foreign truck drivers, according to an investigation by federal officials. the California Department of Motor Vehicles admitted to unlawfully issuing 17,000 non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses to migrant drivers, the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced on Wednesday. The revelations follow an ongoing investigation by the Trump administration into deadly highway accidents involving illegal migrant truck drivers and how they managed to obtain CDLs. Quote, after weeks of claiming they did nothing wrong, Gavin Newsom and California have been caught red-handed, end quote. Duffy said in a public statement shared with the Daily Caller News Foundation, quote, now that we've exposed their lies, 17,000 illegally issued trucking licenses are being revoked, end quote. This is just the tip of the iceberg, Duffy continued. My team will continue to force California to prove that they have removed every illegal immigrant from behind the wheel of semi-trucks and school buses. And it's an image of one of the accidents involving an illegal immigrant, I'm assuming. Investigators look over the scene of a crash between an SUV and a semi-truck full of gravel near Holtville, California on March 2nd in 2021. Notices have been sent out to roughly 17,000 non-domiciled CDL holders that their licenses no longer meet federal standards. It will expire within 2 months, according to the DOT. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is requiring California to provide a full audit of its non-domiciled CDLs so federal investigators can verify that every unlawfully issued license has been pulled. A spokesperson for the California Department of Motor Vehicles did not respond to a request for comment from the DCNF. State officials issue non-domiciled CDLs to individuals who are not residents of that state, which usually applies to foreign nationals. The term can generally describe any person who isn't an American citizen or green card holder who obtains a CDL in a state where they are not a resident. The DOT investigation began in response to a string of deadly highway accidents involving illegal migrant truck drivers who managed to obtain non-domiciled CDLs, with one failing basic English and road sign tests after their grisly crash. Duffy issued sweeping restrictions against commercial drivers in September after discovering catastrophic patterns of state officials illegally handing out licenses to foreign truckers, but those orders have been paused while a legal challenge plays out in court. An ongoing audit by the FMCSA has purportedly uncovered a pattern by state officials doling out licenses unlawfully to foreign drivers, with Duffy long calling out California as the most egregious of them all. More than 25% of non-domiciled CDLs reviewed in the audit were deemed to be improperly issued by California, according to DOT findings released in September. Quote, California's reckless disregard is frankly disgusting in an effort to the millions of Americans who expect us to keep them safe, Duffy said at the time. California must get its act together immediately, or I will not hesitate to pull millions in funding. And the DOT announced last month that it was withholding more than $40 million from California after finding that state officials failed to comply with federal English language proficiency standards. The California Highway Patrol had previously declared that it had no intention of adhering to the English language regulations, according to the DOT. The Trump administration is threatening to pull an additional $160 million in federal funds from the Golden State unless it revokes all illegal non-domiciled CDLs. And I've got this from the US DOT Rapid Response. Quote, California revoked 17,000 illegally issued licenses after Duffy emergency order. So it looks like California will be playing ball, that they are going to be revoking all 17,000 illegally issued licenses. And Washington Examiner, it's paywalled, isn't it? I thought it was. All right. California has revoked 17,000 non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses issued illegally in the state after Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy demanded it to do so. The Transportation Department and the state of California have disagreed over the Golden State's compliance with federal trucking laws for several months. Duffy continues to reprimand the state for its non-compliance, and California officials have repeatedly argued they are following all regulations. Well, not under this administration, they're not. In a Wednesday announcement, the Transportation Department said the California Department of Motor Vehicles had issued 17,000 non-domiciled CDLs in violation of federal regulations. Duffy's made cracking down on non-English speaking commercial truck drivers a cornerstone priority of his department. His efforts heightened after a fatal semi-truck crash in the summer caused by a non-English proficient illegal immigrant who had one of his licenses issued in California. So anyway, it goes on from there. I think we got the point, and it'll be linked below if you want to read the rest of that article. That's on the WashingtonExaminer.com. And we'll head down to Libs of TikTok. We just witnessed a live murder between Pete Buttigieg and Secretary Sean Duffy. So Pete Buttigieg says the president wouldn't last 5 minutes as an air traffic controller, and after everything they've been through and the way this administration has treated them from day one. He has no business shitting on them now. And Secretary Duffy says, give me a break. You were basically AWOL at the DOT. I spend my whole day dealing with your neglect and cleaning up your messes. Sit this one out. Ouch. Burn. All right. And this is from AAG Harmeet Dillon, who is the AAG at Civil Rights at the Justice Department, serving under AG Pam Bondi. And she says problematic and noted. And she's responding to this from November 11th. Cam Higbee. Yesterday in Berkeley, a man professing Christ as king had his cross ripped from his neck by what appears to be a Muslim man. He was punched roughly 15 times in the face. He never threw a punch himself. Instead, he struggled to retrieve his cross. He was then arrested. So, yeah, he was arrested after being assaulted by, I'm assuming, Antifa, because they were there, which, by the way, they're a domestic terrorist organization. And we've got another one from Harmeet Dillon. Quote, the UC Berkeley incident is not protest. I respect protest. What we have here is a terrorist organization allowed to run wild in an American city on an American campus funded by taxpayers. It's illegal, and we won't let it stand at the Justice Department.
Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon joins me now from Washington. Harmeet, thanks for being with us. Why the investigation?
Well, look, when I saw this video online, I felt like I had flashbacks, or it was Groundhog Day, because UC Berkeley has a long history of allowing violent protesters to disrupt conservative speakers on the campus. In fact, in 2017, I actually got involved in a legal dispute where I was a lawyer suing UC Berkeley over very similar scenes. There was a series of 3 conservative speakers who wanted to speak on the campus.
Yeah,
and
I think
the
Milo
campus
was
police
one of them.
and the broader Berkeley police stood by and allowed American citizens coming to see an event on an American public campus get violently assaulted, and the event never happened. And that's what we see here in this event. There was a sold-out crowd of over 2,000 tickets for this event with Rob Schneider, the comedian. And in fact, only 1,000 people were allowed to enter. There were shenanigans with the ticketing, but a lot of people didn't come because of what we call the heckler's veto. The violent mob allowed to fester outside. And this is not protest. I respect protest. What we have here is a terrorist organization allowed to run wild in an American city, on an American campus, funded by taxpayers. It's illegal, and we won't let it stand at the Department of Justice.
Well, and these rioters, they're also being funded too. And hopefully they're getting to the bottom of that as well. And I got one more from Harmeet Dillon. Violent mobs such as Antifa do not operate in a consequence-free zone when they attack and intimidate people, like what we just saw at Berkeley. At Civil Rights, under AG Pam Bondi's leadership, will investigate how this situation came to be so we can ensure it never happens again.
First of all, it's fantastic to have you on the show tonight. Thank you for joining us.
On the Ingram angle.
UC Berkeley has condemned the violence, promises to take appropriate measures.
Yeah, right.
I guess against those who violated campus rules.
Yeah, we totally believe them.
Is that enough?
Well, Laura, thanks for having me so much. It's a pleasure to be here. This feels to me like deja vu all over again. I think it was like
because as they're writing that letter, they're doing the jerk-off motion at the same time, rolling their eyes in the back of their head.
Exactly this type of violent chaos that happened on the campus. And at that time, Berkeley was preventing conservative groups from having conservative speakers and then exposing them, if anyone ever came, to this type of violence. I sued them. I won a settlement, and Berkeley agreed to protect the guests of conservative speakers. And yet here we are. They seem, as Savannah mentioned, to be completely unprepared. The Berkeley, local
it's not like they didn't have any notice. They had plenty of notice.
Undermanned.
It's a scheduled event.
As if it's a both sides problem. It is not a both sides
problem.
No,
it's not. Conservatives don't play this shit.
When a violent mob like Antifa comes and attacks like this, it's what we call a heckler's veto in First Amendment jurisprudence.
that Christian guy.
Given the fact that there has now been a terrorist designation here, the Joint Terrorism Task Force is going to be looking into this together with the DOJ, my Civil Rights Division, and the FBI, and understand what happened here. How did it come to be the case that when Berkeley has noticed that this type of violence occurs on the campus when conservative speakers come to speak, and by Rob Schneider had been scheduled to speak, it was a sold-out crowd of 2,000 people, and less than 1,000 people were there in the stadium because people were intimidated by this violence. So this is not a consequence-free situation. Berkeley has announced, oh, we're so happy that 1,000 people came to hear this. That is not the whole story.
Bullshit.
The story is that when Sonia Sotomayor comes to speak, when the Dalai Lama comes to speak, the Berkeley campus somehow is able to protect the speaker and all of the people who attend.
Very
And
interesting.
when it's a conservative speaker, it isn't. So we have some serious questions and concerns about this, and there'll be a full federal investigation. We've already sent 2 letters to Berkeley and to the police to preserve their documents so we understand how we came to this horrific situation to make sure it never happens again at UC Berkeley.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope they get to the bottom of it and quickly. U.S. Department of Energy. This is the Energy Department awarding contracts to begin refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve that Biden depleted almost down to nothing. And the U.S. Department of Energy announced contracts have been awarded for the acquisition of 1 million barrels of crude oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Dude, that's like barely anything. I think it, I was going to say, it holds like 700 million barrels. According to that, it does. All right, so the U.S. Department of Energy today announced that contracts have been awarded for the acquisition of approximately 1 million barrels of crude oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Contracts awarded on November 12th are for deliveries beginning in December of 2025 through January 2026 to the Bryan Mound site. This announcement follows the request for proposal that was announced on October 21st of 2025. President Trump promised to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and rebuild America's strategic strength. Currently, the SPR holds just over 400 million barrels out of its capacity of approximately 700 million barrels. So I don't know if they've been replenishing it since Trump got back in, but memory serves, it was way less than 400 million, at least at some point during the Biden administration. Maybe while Biden was still in, they were working on replacing it. I mean, that's possible. The SPR was severely weakened by the previous administration's reckless 180 million barrel drawdown in 2022, which incurred nearly 280 million in costs, delayed critical infrastructure maintenance, and put unprecedented wear and tear on storage and injection facilities. Yeah, so it wasn't depleted as much as I previously thought it was. But still, I mean, it was depleted by 180 million barrels. Quote, President Trump promised to protect America's energy security by refilling and managing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve more responsibly, said U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright. Awarding these contracts marks another step in the important process of refilling this national security asset. While this process won't be complete overnight, these actions are an important step in strengthening our energy security and reversing the costly and irresponsible energy policies of the last administration. Now, if I remember right, they were depleting the Strategic Petroleum Reserve under Biden because gas prices were soaring up to like $5 a gallon, and they started tapping into it to artificially bring the prices back down. In response to the RFP, DOE received 18 offers from 6 companies and awarded contracts to the most competitive bids that met all quality and specification requirements. Crude oil deliveries to the Bryan Mound SPR site are scheduled from December 1st through January 31st of 2026. Alrighty. And moving to GOP, Kamala, we should lower the voting age to 16. And also, Kamala, young people are stupid. Which is exactly why they want to.
I really believe we ought to lower the voting age to 16. Anybody who is 16 right now, they are so aware of how this is not working out for them.
They're gullible.
And think about the influence they would have if they had an ability, if people who are running for office knew they had to respond to the needs of someone who is 16.
Yeah, and who overwhelmingly runs the public education system from a political standpoint? I wonder.
What do you know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
Well.
That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
Oh my God, dude, her voice is insufferable. I mean, it's not exactly in the same context, but still, she called him stupid now, didn't she? Of course she did. Secretary Doug Burgum last week, BLM National's oil and gas lease sale in New Mexico brought in record-breaking results, $76 million in receipts and the highest per-acre bid since the 1987 Leasing Reform Act, a strong signal that American energy is in high demand and here to stay. And by the way, Doug Burgum, he is the 55th Secretary of the Interior. So let me see if he's got anything linked to that. No, he doesn't. It's just a statement that he made with regard to BLM National's oil and gas lease. So that's the Bureau of Land Management, by the way. All right. Vice President JD Vance, let's see. He delivers the remarks at the Make America Healthy Again Summit. This is the full video, so I'll repost this. There's a link to my profile in the description below if you want to go straight to that. Or you could just go, I mean, it'd probably be even easier if you're on the X platform, just go at VP. And he posted this at 12:22 p.m. And I have a couple of videos, a couple of clips that were taken out of it, but this is the full video, which I think it's about a half an hour in length. Actually, might not even be a half hour and like
unprecedented caliber of people that.
Okay, so anyway, let me just go straight to this one. These are a couple of the highlights.
There is no way that this country is going to advance unless we're comfortable with people who are willing to challenge orthodoxy. And that's what I think got so broken, not just about the scientific bureaucracy, but probably it was worse in the scientific area than in most other places, is we've got to be comfortable challenging some of these old orthodoxies. And part of that is welcoming people who are a little unusual, because unless you do that, like, you're not going to solve America's problems with McKinsey consultants who say everything the right way all the time. No offense for the McKinsey consultants, because but many of whom are very brilliant people, but like you need the consultant mindset. You also need the person who is just thinking about an idea because it's interesting and it's fascinating and it's not being focused on enough in the right way. There is no way.
All right, and then I got one more here at the Make America Healthy Again Summit. Let's take a quick look at this. If it'll decide to load. There we go.
This country is going to advance unless we're comfortable with people who are willing to challenge orthodoxy. And
oh, wait, it's the same thing. All right, whatever. It's the same thing. But anyway, I'll have that link below if you want to take a look at that Make America Healthy Again Summit with Robert Kennedy. And, okay, so those are the only two, correct? Yeah, I think those were the only two I had. Okay. So anyway, moving on to U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach. Today, I attended the final penny strike, symbolizing the end of penny production and the return of common sense. Each year, the U.S. loses millions producing pennies as their demand plummeted. The President of the United States and his administration are here to deliver effective government reform. And that, I guess, on that tablet or whatever that is, well, there's 3 pennies there, but yeah, apparently one of those 3 was the last penny supposedly ever to be minted by the U.S. government. So it's the end of an era, the end of minting new pennies. Although they're not going to decommission the penny, we're still going to have pennies in circulation for probably eons, because there's over 300 billion that are out in circulation right now, which is almost on average 1,000 pennies for every single American man, woman, and child that's out there in circulation. So I'm sure they're not going to disappear anytime soon. And I looked up a fun fact. There's the amount of pennies that are in circulation, 300 billion pennies. If you were to weigh them in comparison, they would weigh as much as 7 aircraft carriers. That's how many pennies that we have out in circulation right now. So yeah, they're going to be around for quite some time. All right, so House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. U.S. export controls on the CCP's advanced chip industry are essential for winning the AI arms race. We support the Trump administration's AI action plan recommendations to maintain and expand export controls on China. And let's see if we've got the article that they linked. Yep, they sure do. I believe this is going to be a paywall. Wall Street Journal. They always got a paywall. Yep, they did. Okay, so let me see if I can get around this in one way or another. Okay, so I found a summary. This will do. It's linking the Wall Street Journal, so it's taken from that article. So the U.S. has implemented restrictions on chip exports to China to slow its military and AI advancements, citing national security concerns. These restrictions include banning the export of advanced high-performance chips, limiting access to the equipment needed to manufacture them, and restricting U.S. persons from working in China's advanced semiconductor industry. China is responding by boosting its domestic chip production and by prioritizing domestic chips over foreign ones for government projects, according to the Wall Street Journal and Tom's Hardware. U.S. restrictions, export controls on advanced chips. U.S. has banned the export of high-end chips, particularly those used for artificial intelligence and supercomputing, to China. Also, restrictions on manufacturing equipment. U.S.-based companies are barred from selling the equipment used to manufacture advanced logic and memory chips to China without a license. Restrictions on U.S. persons. The restrictions also require U.S. citizens and green card holders to leave their jobs at Chinese semiconductor facilities. And finally, foreign direct product rule. The rules extend to products made with U.S. technology anywhere in the world, not just within the U.S. And China's response, prioritizing domestic production. China is boosting its domestic chip production and technology as seen in its efforts to promote homegrown alternatives. Government intervention. Chinese authorities are prioritizing the needs of state-backed technology companies such as Huawei for the limited supply of advanced chips. In rewriting code, Chinese developers are restructuring software and workloads to run on domestic accelerators, even if they are less powerful than their foreign counterparts. and the impact, supply chain disruptions. The restrictions have caused significant disruptions for China's tech industry, forcing some companies to delay product launches. National security concerns. The restrictions are intended to slow China's military and intelligence capabilities, which rely on advancing computing and AI. Well, look, the main way that they were able to get as far into the whole AI race in the first place was from stealing U.S. intellectual property on an annual basis. They steal like $500 billion worth of U.S. IP every single year. So, if not for that, then they would probably not even have gotten off the ground. Global competition. The ongoing competition for global dominance in AI technology has made the issue a key point of tension between the U.S. and China. And looks like a few of the sources from Wikipedia, New York Times, Yahoo Finance Canada, and so on. All right, heading to the next topic here. Let's see what we got. DEA HQ. During a traffic stop, DEA Houston agents found more than 900 pounds of meth hidden in boxes containing green squash. DEA, alongside University of Houston Police and Katy Police Department and Texas DPS, stopped this poison from spreading to your community. Got him squeezed up inside the boxes. Yep. Wow, man. 900 pounds worth. Probably an entire truckload of squash. Crazy. All right, and Secretary Marco Rubio, this week at the G7 Canada, we're tackling global peace and security, energy, and critical minerals. Under the leadership of the president, we continue to advance U.S. interests. And there's a picture of the leaders at the G7 in Canada of 2025. All right, Secretary Marco Rubio, one more with regard to the G7, met with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha and my G7 counterparts to discuss ways to strengthen Ukraine's defense and find an end to this bloody conflict. The United States remains steadfast in working with our partners to encourage Russia to pursue diplomacy and engage directly with Ukraine for a durable and lasting peace. And this comes from DOW Rapid Response, 10 Principles of the Golden Age of American Warfighting. Number 1, America first. Number 2, peace through strength. And then common sense. Number 4, revive the warrior ethos. Number 5, rebuild the military. Number 6, reestablish deterrence. Number 7, defend the homeland. Number 8, deter China. Number 9, strengthen burden sharing among allies. And number 10, revive the defense industrial base. Let's take a look at this.
Lay out the 10 points, and it's been America first, peace through strength, common sense, revive the warrior ethos, rebuild the military, reestablish deterrence. We're going to defend the homeland. We're going to deter China. We're going to make sure our allies do their part in burden sharing, and we're going to revive the defense industrial base. That's 10 points, general overview of what the president prescribed us to do, what the Department of War has been focused on, and the urgent threats that we need to orient on. That's the overview of what a golden age of American warfighting looks like. You could lay out the 10
all right, and that is it. That's all I got. That's all I got for the episode. So, hope you had a great time watching the video. We got the government reopened finally. It only took well over 40 days at this point. Record-breaking government shutdown, but it's finally going to be reopened. I'm assuming Trump is probably signing it as I speak right now, so we'll finally get back to normal, at least in the short term, at least up until the end of January, when we might see yet another government shutdown, but we'll just have to stay tuned and see. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.